if you feel like you are working so hard and you are so talented and that is enough, if you can add some positivity and mindset and self care to your life, you are not going to need to work so hard. You can work a
Love
lot
it.
less and lighten your workload, lighten your stress and anxiety by a ton, and actually enjoy life and still find that success and even more because you're going to make room for even better things to come in. So, working hard is definitely not enough to be successful. You can find success with working hard, yes, but you can find so much more success with working less and staying on top of your mindset and taking care of yourself.
This is your host, Dyutama, but you can call me DJ. And I love to inspire food photographers to dream. I spent 15 years as an architect studying buildings and constructing hospitals before taking the biggest leap of faith of my life, which was setting up a food styling and food photography business right from scratch. If you're a dreamer like me, wanting to start a new photography business or grow your existing food photography business, jump right into a world where I share practical, actionable strategies to improve your photography skills, to work with clients, make more money, all with a fearless mindset. This is the My Food Lens podcast, and we take you one step closer to your dreams. So let's go. So today's episode is a very different episode. It's a topic that we have probably never talked about on the podcast. And I'm wondering actually why we haven't talked about it for so long when it is so important. All right. So today our guest is Megan Porta. She is a food blogger based in the United States, and she's also the host of the popular podcast called Eat Blog Talk. So Megan is highly passionate about productivity, efficiency, the power of the mind, and also about helping creators find the success that is meant for them. Now, today we're going to talk about how to attract success without working more hours. So Megan is going to tell us all the pieces of the puzzle that need to come together to actually bring that success closer to us and ultimately make it reach us. We are going to talk about things that we have never talked about on this podcast before. And if you feel like you've not been getting results, if you've been doubting yourself, if you want to know what you can make better and what are the simple actionable steps that you can take to take your productivity to another level, to take your success to another level, to actually bring the results for the amount of work that you're putting in, boy, you're in for a treat today. All right, with that, let's welcome Megan. Hi, Megan, and welcome to My Food Lens podcast. It's always such an excitement for me when I have a fellow podcaster as my guest. So this is extra special, and welcome to the podcast.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. I feel like, Megan, you and I have a real passion for productivity, and I really felt that there was a fit or match in values, way of working, and the message that we want to put out, to our fellow creators. And so I'm really looking forward to our conversation on how, simple practices can actually bring solid breakthroughs in the creative journey that most photographers, bloggers, influencers, and any kind of creators they have. So I'm looking forward to all of that. But first off, I just want to put something on the table. Like that's going to be the tone of what we're going to talk about today. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think mindset is in achieving success in our business?
Without a doubt, I would say 10 on that. For sure, 100%.
Right. So we're going to talk about productivity, but mindset just goes hand in hand. So we're going to keep that in mind as we proceed with our conversation. All right. So I feel, Megan, and maybe you agree with me as well, that, most creators feel like I have talent, I'm very hardworking. And so, success is a guarantee for me, or this is all that I need for success. But do you think that the power of the mind is really underrated, especially in the creative business world?
So this is one of my messages, and it's one of the reasons that I started my podcast, which is a podcast for professional food bloggers. The power of the mind is so underrated, and I think people figure this out eventually if they stay in the game long enough. And yeah, like if you do not tap in to mindset, you are more likely to burn out, you're more likely to quit, you're more likely to get discouraged. There are so many things that can come your way that are going to throw a wrench in your business. But if you have a handle on your mindset, it's like a superpower, honestly. It is so underrated. And this is a huge message of mine to not just food bloggers, but any entrepreneur out there.
And I agree 100%. I feel like as creators and as, business owners, especially, we are not answerable to anyone but ourselves. So the only one who's going to be able to push ourselves, get us out of bed every day, feel that fire in our belly is actually our mindset. It's 100% true what you said. So another thing, I think I heard this on your podcast, Megan, and I remember it just completely knocked my socks off. Since we are talking about the power of the mind, can you please share your story about being a money magnet? Because I want everybody to hear that.
Are you referring to the story about when I was taking my walk? Is that what you're referring to? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So at the time we were on vacation and I had just started kind of digging into this concept of attracting money and like, okay, you actually have to have your mindset in the right place. So I was reading books, I was listening to podcasts to do this. This was my goal. Like, I want to be a money magnet. I hear stories about other people doing it. I know it's possible. I want to figure this out. I love the freedom that money allows for me and my family. So I was just determined. So we were in Montana. We were traveling. We do the summer trip every year. So it was all of our family. We were in our RV, and I was really working on this at the time. And I went for a walk one morning with my dog, and I was just really in the groove of like thinking, okay, I'm a money magnet. I find money wherever I go. Money finds me. Money loves me. Like, all those things that you say to yourself when you're trying to attract money.
Mm-hmm.
So we were on the road, and I'm not kidding you. I looked down and saw a shiny nickel. And I was like, oh my gosh, this worked. That is so crazy. So I picked it up, and, you're supposed to, like, if you find money, I think the thing is you're supposed to like acknowledge it, and you're supposed to show it that you value it and not just like, oh, it's just a nickel, that sort of thing. So I picked it up, I put it in my pocket. A little while later, I saw a dime. So I picked up the dime. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I felt like the richest woman in the world. I remember I went back to our RV and I was like, you guys, I found 15 cents. And my boys were like, Mom, that is really lame, like 15 cents. But I was just so thrilled. So then later that night, my oldest son and I went for another walk. And I was kind of telling him about it, like, yeah, I found a nickel and then I found a dime. And I looked ahead on the street and I saw money, like a paper money. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So we walked up to it. It was $20 bill. We picked it up and we just looked at it like, what in the world just happened?
Oh my
And
God.
yeah. And then he said to me, like right away, his first response was, can I have it? And I instinctively replied, there's more for you. And I don't know where that came from. It was just like something that just flowed out of my mouth. And then I was kind of confused about what I had said. I was like, there's more for you. What did I mean by that? We took a few more steps and there was another $20 bill in the road. And
No.
we were just like, oh my gosh. So we went back. I gave him that $20 bill. I mean, it wasn't mine to give him, but I was like, I have that one. I'll take the first one. We went back and we were telling the story to my husband and other son and the friends we were staying with, and nobody believed us. They were like, what? You found two $20 bills in the middle of the road? I'm like, yes, I swear it just happened. So yeah, that was one of my coolest money experiences where just being in that mindset of believing that I'm a money magnet, and it literally came to me. It was like being magnetized to me. Super cool story.
That is a super cool story. I mean, I can hear it as many times as you're willing to tell it, and it's going to knock my socks off every single time. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening to everyone who's tuning in right now. That is insane. But also, that's the power of the mind. And I'm also just wondering, if you didn't have that mindset, if you were not in that zone at that time, how different this experience or this whole thing would have rolled out. So on that note, Megan, are there any like mindset mistakes, or you can say limiting beliefs that we carry within ourselves that actually stops us from finding success like this? Like, you were attracting money because you were a money magnet. So similarly, attracting success or reaching our goals. Do you think there are limiting beliefs or mindset mistakes that we make that actually stalls our success and limits it from reaching us?
So many. I mean, honestly, I think we're all walking around with so many limiting beliefs, not just about money, but about our success and what we can achieve. So many things that we're not even aware of. And when you start digging a little bit, you can uncover what those things are. I honestly believe that like 90% or more of what is holding us back, we don't even know exists. I remember like a few years ago when I started getting into this money mindset stuff, I uncovered that a family just belief about money had stuck with me for all of my life. And I didn't even know it. So I was aware of what it was. I just started rewriting that story and changed it. And that is when things really started to change. So, yes, there are so many mistakes. I mean, I think that we underestimate its importance. First of all, we underestimate that the work that we do in our mindset has power. And that is probably number one, just dismissing it, not acknowledging that it's a really important factor to success. And then I have so many other things. I don't know how many you want me to get into, but I would say that's where to start, like acknowledging its power and then just starting to uncover what your specific beliefs are that are holding you back. And that can be really hard and scary because it can uncover like traumas or, things that were told to you in childhood that you have just carried with you your whole life. So it's not a necessarily an easy journey, but I think
Mhm.
yeah, those are two good places to start.
And it's really hard to kind of understand or find out that, oh, yeah, this is a belief that I've carried throughout my life. This is influenced by my childhood, or this is what I grew up with. And that's why I think about it like this. It's really tough. It's really hard for, us to just be going on about our lives and then have this sudden breakthrough or this realization that, oh, yeah, this is like that. It takes a lot of mindfulness, a lot of educating yourself, trying to dig in deeper to actually come down to that. Would you agree?
Oh gosh, I so agree with that. Yeah, it's like we have to stop ourselves in our tracks, whether it's something that happens in our life or someone like us talking and having this conversation and just forcing somebody to stop and just think about where they're at and how they need to change. Something needs to stop you in your tracks to kind of do a reset, I think. But yeah, I totally agree with that.
And you said that the number one thing that we need to keep in mind is that our mind is that powerful, and what we are thinking, what is going on inside us, it's probably going to show up on the outside as well. So, do you think there's a correlation between what we focus on, what's going on inside, what are our thoughts, and what actually comes our way?
100%. And I think a lot of people don't believe this until they start experimenting with it and then they see the power of it and see that it's true and then they believe it. Um, One of my favorite quotes is from Tony Robbins, I believe, and he says, "Where your focus goes, your
Mhm.
energy flows."
Yes.
Um, and I think that is so true because we all have those days when we're like, "Oh my gosh, my shoulder hurts. Oh, my knee hurts." Like you start focusing on these little pains, or maybe it's more of like an emotional pain that you're experiencing or like negative things. And then more negative things roll into your life. It just happens. And it's
Hmm.
not a coincidence. And then when you're intentional on those days, you wake up and you just decide to be positive and focus on the good things, the positive things, and then everything starts happening for the better. Just like the money story, I decided, oh my gosh, I'm going to be really excited about a nickel. And I literally believe that that set everything in motion for finding two $20 bills. Like it really does work. It
Yes.
really does. And it's not just limited to money.
Mhm.
It's everything in your life. It's the people who are in your life. focusing on the good people and the energy in your life, the opportunities that come to you in work. I mean, it's literally everything around you and how your life is structured. The vacations that come to you, the things you want, the cars, if it's material things, if it's love. I mean, it's absolutely everything.
Yeah, I think it's like a snowball effect. The more you start focusing on the negative, the more you will keep on focusing on the negative, and the more negative will start, coming onto you. So, yeah, totally agree. How about change? Like, I feel like, okay, let's say that we are in a great situation and things are really going our way, but that's not the way the creative world works. Especially the business world doesn't work like that. There's constant changing. You have to
Mm.
constantly adapt. You have to pivot and you have to embrace and you have to move with the same energy and the same fire in your belly. So, change is a really tough one that can take that focus or that positivity or that feeling of, oh, this is great, and just focusing on the right thing. Change can really derail that focus. So what are some ways that you think that creators can actually adapt to change, which is kind of inevitable in business?
Yeah, it is inevitable. I think 100% perspective. If your perspective is that change is going to send you overboard, then it is. That's what's going to happen. But if you go into business or whatever your venture is, believing that change is inevitable and just accepting that fact and not resisting it, you are going to survive the long haul. I talk to a lot of food bloggers every single week, and this is the number one thing that just sends people overboard. It's change. We don't know what's coming with so many things in our industry. And when changes happen, it sends panic throughout the community and they don't know how to deal with it. But the people I see and talk to who just have that perspective that this is going to happen all the time and we're always going to be okay and we're going to survive and we're going to thrive and our businesses are going to come out on the other side okay and way better. Those are the people who really, yeah, they stay in it and their businesses do thrive. When I started food blogging, I had just made the decision that I was in. I was not going to not be in. I was going to do it until I made it work and achieved the freedoms that I wanted to achieve. So I had that perspective from the beginning, and I've never lost it that I'm in for the long haul. It doesn't matter what happens to me. I'm going to sort of 18. Um, Up until that point, I had been getting mad, wild Pinterest traffic. Pinterest loved me. I hardly had to do anything. I got so much Pinterest traffic. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And then overnight, one night, Pinterest decided to put an algorithm change in place. And my traffic tanked because I was getting most of my traffic from Pinterest. So it was the saddest graph ever. I mean, I remember opening Google Analytics one evening. It was actually during the Super Bowl. I don't know why I remember that, probably because it was, one of those like I'll never forget moments. But I remember we were just sitting there and my heart sunk, my stomach sunk because it was like all up here and then crash down and just, yeah, it looked abysmal.
Yeah.
Um, but I just decided like long ago before that point, I had decided I was going to do this no matter what. So while that was really hard, I did not let it shake me. I kept moving forward and I just kind of set that as my new norm. Like, this is my new standard that I'm working from. And I knew I'd have to try to build it back and learn other ways to get traffic. I started going to conferences after that. So it really was a good catalyst for learning and growing. But that was probably the hardest change I have personally faced in my blogging business.
And I think that's such a great example. Thank you for sharing that because I feel like, again, we get so comfortable or we get used to the idea of finding success through one medium or one way. And when that goes down, suddenly we feel like it's all crashing. We're not meant for this. This was not our world. And, now there's no way out. But there's always a way out as long as we know that, we just have to keep going. And I love that you found, I mean, attending conferences or being in a network. I'm sure that
Yeah.
this was a way to open bigger opportunities
Yeah.
for you. if Pinterest had continued like that, maybe those opportunities wouldn't have found themselves, on the way to you. So it's, if one thing is closing, there's definitely another opening there. And so when there is a change, it's making way for bigger things to reach you. That's what I think. Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, I so agree with that. And I was also going to say, if I had quit at that point, and I think a lot of people might have considered quitting because it was significant. Like I was getting a million page views a month from Pinterest prior to that, and it went down to like almost nothing. That's a huge
Yeah.
blow, a
Yeah.
huge punch in the stomach. So I think a lot of people may have considered quitting. But if I had, I would not have experienced like literally the best years of my life. So after that, like I said, I started going to conferences. I started really digging into learning and networking, and all of these really amazing, beautiful things started coming into my life. And I
Mhm.
was able to provide for my family in a way that I really never dreamed. We travel all the time. I just can't imagine when I think back, like if I had quit and gone back to a corporate job, I was almost there. Like it's like that story about digging for gold and people stop digging like right before they strike gold. That
Yeah.
is exactly what that point in my journey was. If I would have stopped, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that I kept going in retrospect.
I know it's always rewarding to, overcome yourself and just take that one more step. You have no idea what waits for
Yeah.
you in that one step. On that note, Megan, do you think that, like, I just feel like in this, fast track world, everybody is looking for quick, fast, easy, short. That's the tone of the generation, of the era. And do you think that that's one of the reasons why creators quit, or they don't, oh, I mean, they don't find success because they leave or they quit too quickly? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, I definitely do. I hear it a lot in our space and just in the entrepreneurial world. I think that it's really easy with all of the entrepreneurs in existence right now doing their thing and really finding success with, being an entrepreneur. I think it's easy to see those people crushing it and to get disarmed by it because it's like, "Oh, I just assumed that person X has been successful from the start." But we don't take into account that that person has put in so much energy and love and money and time into their business, just like we are doing now. So it's easy to compare the wrong parts of other people's journeys with ours and to forget that they came from the same place that we did. And then you get so discouraged that you just quit. So, like we had kind of touched on a little bit ago, just having that mindset and perspective that this is a long game. Some people have long, long, long journeys to find their success. So keep that in mind. Don't give up. Make the decision to keep at it no matter what, and you'll eventually get there. But yeah, the discouragement comes from, I think, mostly that comparison piece.
And most of the time, that comparison is so unnecessary and unfair, because I know I felt it like when I started podcasting, I was looking at numbers a lot. And then I would hear all these entrepreneurs who had these buzzing podcasts, and they would like, "Oh, we just hit 1 million downloads this
Mm,
month." And I was like, that is insane. And then after, a lot of like heartbreak and beating myself up, I learned that they had been doing it for 15 years. They had
yeah,
been podcasting for 15 years. It's not a joke.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
after 15 years, they have 1 million downloads a month. Of course they would.
right.
Why not? They played the long game. And similarly on social media, we see people with so many followers, and we see, them putting content day in and day out, and we compare that. But their life is not our life. They are not us. Their personal hurdles are not ours, and ours is not theirs. So it's such an important mindset to have, especially in the creative world, as compared to the corporate world, where success is not coming instantly. It's not coming as material validation of a bonus, a promotion, something like that. It's really, you just have to keep doing it in and out, in and out. And then ultimately, one day it'll click and it'll just be onwards and upwards from
Yes.
there. I
Right. The
love it.
tipping point, I think we all get to that tipping point where, it just kind of like you're like this, and then it just tips in your favor. And you don't realize it's really coming until it happens. And then you're like, okay, good. The tipping point happened. But yeah, for some, it's like I said, it's a long game. It can be, but everything you said was so perfect and beautiful. And I love how you framed that. Yes, I so agree with that.
And I love that you said that, you wouldn't have had the opportunities had you not pivoted. I feel like people don't give success enough time to reach them. You're not allowing success to
Yeah.
take its path, its journey. Success has its journey as well. So if you're not
Mhm.
allowing that to happen, it's not going to be able to reach you. You take a shortcut and you get out, you've lost it somewhere along the way. So I think this was such a great example. And I think for creators, your example was so perfect because a lot of our success or validation or acknowledgement comes through our analytics, our numbers. What's the traffic we're getting?
Mm,
How many
yep.
leads are we getting through our digital content? So this was such a great example. Tell me, Megan, can you share with us maybe 2 or 3 ways in which we can reframe our thoughts to actually attract success? Maybe 2 or 3 ways that come to your mind.